We'll check this board. We got to change this thing, and let's change the title, eh? Can we change the title? This. Something like that. Okay. Is that right? That seems right. Doing a thing and then kind of easing back on it and getting back into the full swing, I think is easier to get back into the full swing than if you just are doing a thing and you're like not doing it at all, right? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's some psychology to the contrary, and if anybody has any knowledge or thoughts about that, I'm curious. But for me, I feel like usually like going from 0 to something is harder, I think, than going from like, yeah, we're doing it a little bit, now we're gonna like really throw some gasoline on the fire. And once I successfully move and I'm in a new place, I'm gonna get a sit-stand desk. I think I'm gonna do a lot more streaming. I'm definitely gonna make a lot more content, and I'm going to play a lot of poker. All right, let's get into some hands. 8, 6, 5 deuce with the suit. I mean, it's the best way this can be suited, except that we'd rather have like the 5 or the 6 so we can make more straight flushes, or any. So I flop a wrap, and it's the good wrap, right? It's the over wrap. An 8 is the nuts, a 6 is the nuts, a 5 is the nuts, a 3 is the nuts, so long as those do not bring a flush as well. The 6 being a diamond means that I have 3 6s, 3 3s, 2 5s, and 2 8s for 10 fingers worth of outs. To the nuts, plus a diamond straight might be good, right? So I've got the 6 of diamonds and the deuce as well. So I don't know, maybe even just like betting here, it makes sense. But they bet 3/4 pot. It folds to me. I decide with this many outs to the nuts, I would like to try and make the nuts against a loose passive player who I might, like, I don't know, make some chips from. So I call, and then the turn's a queen, which is just a total brickiest brick. You know, sometimes when the board's low, then the high cards are off in the bricks. When the board's high, the low cards are off in the bricks. I think it's important to like recognize this card as a brick, right? Sure, queen 7, queen 4, queen just improved, but there's no reason to think that those are particularly likely hands. And they bet 3/4 pot again, and I don't see too much reason like turning this into a bluff. I feel like I'm gonna get up against like better draws and maybe sets or 2-pair type hands. The fact that they are a little bit tighter as far as a passive player, like they're semi-loose and definitely passive. So it makes me believe sets are going to be more of their range than 2-pair hands. I did decide to call because I was like, well, I have 10 outs all to the nuts, and that's going to be, you know, that's 25% equity basically. Plus maybe there's going to be some bluffing cards. Maybe my deuce is good and they like give up with an ace-high flush draw, or I make trip deuces or something. And then the river's a queen of diamonds, which I think is like potentially a bluffing spot, where if I had 2-pair, I think that would make a pretty good bluff. I like having the diamond, but it's not that big a deal because, I don't know, a player like this having a diamond flush and then folding it is possible, but maybe, you know, like I'm blocking straight draws, you know, so like 5, 6, 7, 8 is a hand that I could get to fold. 4, 5, 6, 8 is a hand maybe I could get to fold. 4, 5, 6, 7 is a hand maybe I could get to fold. And I have a deuce, so I'm blocking like deuce, so, and like I guess queen deuce, whatever that's worth. Maybe like, you know, ace something of diamonds and queen deuce. But I decide not to bluff. I do have a little bit of showdown value, so there's a non-zero chance I could win, I guess. But I just give up, and they did have 4-4. So this was a very forceful check. I don't know. That doesn't really make any sense, but I can't ever resist saying forceful. You know, I don't know. I guess they didn't think they could get value from anything. Maybe, I mean, I guess it's hard to get value, but like the flush got there and you made your boat. So that feels like kind of a dream card. So I think they missed value, but we're not going to, I mean, not from my hand, but from, you know, the flushes in my range. So they're like, oh, I made the flush, but the board paired. And then they bet half pot. I'm like, you know, or even they pot it and I hero call, or they bet like $5. Anyway, that was that hand. I see what you did there. Yeah. What's up, Fat Memrite? Oh, I saw you in there's this bonus content on the PLO Launchpad I was gonna post this in the other thing in the other place, but I didn't because I'm like moving soon. But and it's just hard to do stuff. But where yeah, you were commenting somewhere in the cookies video where he's playing like 3 tables or something heads up against Andrew Nemi, which was a good watch. Good watch. You got a little cameo in there. All right, Ace 10, Ace Jack 10 6. I flop a lot, and I was kind of trying to talk through my thought process without talking through my hand, if that makes sense, which is a little tricky. Anyway, I flop top and bottom pair. So right. I mean, we know the SPR. It's like 7-1. What do I have? I've got top and bottom pair. What can I make? Well, I can make a boat. I can make a runner flush, and I have a gut shot to the nuts, right? And then what am I blocking? Well, I'm blocking top pair, bottom pair, sets, and the backdoor nut flush draw. I mean, the nut flush draw I'm blocking, and I have a back, so I'm blocking some backdoor draws, right? So like I'm blocking a lot of stuff. So I think I probably get a lot of folds here if I bet. But I think my hand has considerable value, so I don't feel like the need to bet a hand like this. And with top and bottom pair, I feel like kind of playing it like, okay, let's see. And so what do we see? We see a 3 of diamonds on the turn, which gives me a flush draw to go with my nut shot, to go with my top and, now third pair, right? And they bet out for about half pot after the, less than half pot. Like, it's this weird bet size. But I was looking at this and I was thinking like, okay, they can be trying to get a cheap card with some kind of marginal hand, or they can be trying to bet for value with some, marginal hand. Like, I don't think this is queen very often, right? Because there's so many draws on the board. And I thought about raising this bet, but then I thought like, well, you know what? I really have more of a bluff catcher that has very robust equity. There's a lot of really good, rivers here for me. So I think calling makes a lot of sense. I mean, it made sense to me. And now the river does complete 4-5, which, flop goes check. They decide to bet when that straight draw shows up. I don't think there's going to be a ton of 4-5 in their range, but like 7-6-5-4 with a suit or two, maybe. Although, do those 3-bet pre, like double suited and single suited fold? I'm not sure. There should be some 4-5 in their range, but I don't think there's a ton. So I'm not super scared of it. They bet less than half pot again. It feels like they've got this 35% bet sizing is like their thing. And, top and third pair still, right? These are undercards to that. The straight is possible, but not super likely. I'm blocking top 2. I don't think sets are super likely, so I call. I think a hand like ace 3, ace deuce is possible here, and as is some sort of a bluff. But it turns out that they have top 2 pair and bottom, so I can beat their ace deuce. That's nice, but unfortunately they also have the ace queen. So I lose, and I feel good about how I play this hand. I feel like I kind of somewhere between lost the minimum and made sure that I realized my equity. I like it. I don't know. Always open in whether it is on Twitch or on YouTube. To feedback, to comments, questions like, oh, I would have done this. Okay, cool. And if it's on YouTube, just try to include the timestamp, and it will be super helpful. Although maybe it's less important because I might put timestamps in myself. All right, ace queen 6. This is a nice 3-betting hand, but I 1-bet it. I guess it's a 2-bet. I 2-bet it. And I flop, not much. Stack to pot ratio is like 8-1, 9-1. I've got an overpair. I can make a backdoor flush draw. I can make a set of queens. I can make trip 6s. Aces and 6s is possible too. So I think my hand's decent, but 3 ways. The 6-7 connects a lot with like big blind ranges. The player who cold called, like, look at these stats. I marked them green. That's so weird. I guess maybe they started off different. I don't really know what's up with that. But anyway, I decide to check it, and then they checks through. This 8 on the turn seems pretty bad to me. It brings a flush draw, but it also brings straights. Again, if it hit the big blind's range, if they have blockers, I think they should definitely start bluffing here, as 9-10 type combos probably are going to bet a fair amount for the in position players. but it checks through, and then the river's a king, and I'm like, should I turn this into a bluff? Like, I'm not blocking anything I want to be blocking. My queens might be good. So we check, and it checks through, and hooray. Queens are good. I forget what the button had. I don't think I ever looked at it. So anyway, you know, they basically flopped a gut shot with top pair. They take a free card. They pick up an open-ended straight draw. They take a free card. They take a free showdown with what was top pair. And I don't know, seems reasonable. I mean, fold pre-flop, but like whatever. Kind of shows how like this does hit their range, right? Like they've got a lot of this stuff in their range, but they've got a lot of things in their range. All right, folds to me, and I fold this one. So that's just a quick lookup. This is just going to be in the PLO matrix, cutoff. So first I'm going to look up, do I even raise this in the cutoff under normal conditions? Which, by the way, these are not totally normal conditions. So king, queen, 6-5. No, this is just like super clear fold. So I don't know. I was doing what they call tripping. Yeah, so this is just clearly a fold. Let's pivot briefly to like double suited, which is I think going to be a clear raise call. It is. But when the button is this short, if I look up like 20 blind stacks, what are we going to do? Cutoff. Is this going to be different? I think these still raise it. Yeah, it's raise get it in against the cutoff. So maybe a button open is fine. Yeah, button open for sure. Well, for sure, like I'll look it up. But I'm pretty confident on the button. We're going to, yeah, we actually raise call with this. This is our button single suited king queen range. So these king queens, it really does like single suited on the button, really doesn't like them in any other position. If we look at this 20 blind, I'm going to say single suited probably raise calls or raise gets it in, but it might actually fold it. It folds, yeah. So it just wants big cards, right? That's 20 blinds deep. So like if this character here was like the big blind or something, I would probably fold this on the button. But if I were the button instead of this player, I would raise it against these players. So not too much to say there. All right, this hand I thought was like weird. This hand felt very weird. There's a min raise from this player who I don't know that much about. I 3-bet and get heads up. Because they min raised, the stack to pot ratio here is over 6-1. And that really changes the feel of this hand, right? Because if they had made a regular sized raise and I make it like, I guess, what is it, 11 or is it 1050? It's 1150 pre, right? 350 times 3 plus 1. So that feels not right, but I think it is right. So anyway, there'd be like 23, 24 in the middle. We'd have more like a 3 and change to 1 SPR. So then I could just go pot, get it in. I don't know whether that's best, but with the ace of clubs, I think I'm not going to get as many continues. If I do get raised and I have the ace of clubs, then I'm not as likely to be up against flush draws, more likely to run into sets, I guess. So that's kind of bad. But yeah, so I think this is a little bit tricky to play shorter. This deep, though, I decided to just check. And by deep, I mean stack to pot ratio, which were kind of like artificially deep because of their min raise, right? And then this turn card just seemed terrible to me. It seemed like their raise calling range is going to like this a lot more than... I mean, my 3-bet range is going to have straights here, right? It's going to have some rundowns. A lot of those are going to bet this flop, unless I'm just checking range here or check raising those hands. This card, I just checked and they checked it back. And then now the 6 comes on the river and I check again. And now they bet like 2/3 pot. And I just feel like I've got one pair. I'm totally unblocking 2 pairs, sets, straights. Like I'm blocking. What do I want them to have here? Like king, queen, jack, 10? Like that probably bets the turn. Like it just feels like they almost definitely have me beat, so I just folded. My main question in this hand is not so much, once I check flop and the turn comes a 9 and the river comes a 6, I think I like my line. I feel very comfortable with it. It seems very straightforward. But I feel like on the flop, I kind of, I don't know. Like what? I don't know. Anyway. I mean, just give up, or like the ace of clubs is a nice card. So, but like, if they get excited and I know they don't have the ace of clubs, I feel like I'm in bad shape. Anyway, on this run out, I think it was kind of straightforward. All right, here. Oh, I'm trying to remember this hand. Oh yeah, this was somewhat interesting. I decided to defend this. There's this loose player behind me who's short. They had been passive so far, so I'm not super concerned that they're gonna like back raise. I think this is super clear against the single player, right? But if we think about this like what big blind, it's hard to find a good analog where like we understand that we're multi-way, but we're also in position against a small blind raiser, right? So big blind versus small blind. I guess we can look at just that and then kind of say like how clear of a call is this, and if it's borderline then we probably fold it. Yeah, like ace jack single suited, not even suited to the ace, is just going to be played basically no matter what our side cards are in this spot. So given that it's suited to the ace and all of those are such a clear call, and even some of them are three betting, I think three bet or call are both fine. I like call. Leave this player in behind with their just who knows what, and maybe make some stuff against them. So on the flop, I've got a lot. I think I might bet this hand if I weren't trying to talk through things in this circumspect way, but I was, and so I didn't, right? But I've got a gut shot to the nuts. I've got the nut flush draw. I'm not blocking any of the board pair things, but I think betting and then calling a raise makes sense here. I checked, and then they check. So the turn is, I think, the most interesting card it can be. The king of spades gives me the nut flush, which is not the nuts because the board is paired. And now they bet out. So, like, they could have a set that they were going for a check raise with. Some sort of like all three pair, whatever type hand. They could have just decided they were range checking flop, and so they could have like quad kings here. I don't think quad kings bets 3/4 pot in this spot though, so I feel like that's very unlikely. I don't know. I feel like my hand is good here a lot, and I'm not super scared of the player behind me because I think two pair or a set is usually betting there. So I feel like this is a clear call, and then certain rivers are going to be better than others. And I call and they fold behind me. And now this river feels like not one of the best rivers, right? Because if they did have a king, I think their king is going to come with a queen fairly often, more often than like with a deuce. So if the river were a deuce, I would kind of think about raising even. I probably wouldn't, but like I would give it a little bit of consideration. But mostly I just think like, yeah, I've got a bluff catcher. They're not bluffing with the ace of spades, but that's not really the best bluffing card. They could have like a 5, 6, 7, 8 or something and have checked flop and been like, oh, this is a good bluffing combo because I'm blocking boats, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. The queen would be a scary card to them, I would think, if they had like a good king or whatever. Like if they have ace king, I don't know, are they turning that into a bluff? At the end of the day, I just decided I didn't believe them that much because they had checked the flop and their bet sizing was weird. So oh, I thought I decided I didn't. I forgot the hand already. Okay, well, at the end of the day, I decided I did believe them because they were going to have king queen here a lot. I'm not sure how I feel about the fold. I like the turn call, and then this river feels pretty bad. So I'm going to mark this one for... no, not that. Not that. We're going to look up... we're going to see what they actually had tomorrow. We'll see what they had. But, let me know... I don't know. What do you think about this river fold? The queen's a bad card. I feel like the queen's definitely a bad card. But, they raised the small blind against this loose, kind of limpy player. So, I don't know. They could also still have a hand like 7-7, 5-5, king, whatever. So, it's not like king queen's the only thing to worry about. But I did make the fold. And we'll find out tomorrow whether it was correct against their hand. We'll never truly know whether it was correct against their range, but I'm very open to feedback on that one. Here I raise this. I'm not sure about this. I think generally this is going to be a raise, but this player behind me, actually these types of hands don't play worse with the shorties. I have to remember that, right? So MP 100 blinds, king single suited. If I don't have this queen of diamonds, I'm positive I'm raising. I'm raising it anyway. All these like king with the Broadway and suited basically just raises in MP. So that's one thing to know. And then we'll look at the same thing in I should have just left this over there, but yeah, the same thing here against, 20 blind stacks, they're 30, but still. These are just like raise get it in now, all of a sudden, right? These are single suited kings. And that's assuming that our opponents are like playing well. So if we have opponents who are basically just getting it in with aces only, then like we want to make some exploits. And this isn't exactly what I was going for, having the whole field call, but it's pretty fine. I mean, it's like fine. I don't mind getting 4 callers. I'd rather have like 1, none, or 4. Like, because this way it's like, yeah, let's just flop a set and then okay, well, I flopped a set, but there's a flush out there. So they check to me. I feel like I have a boat draw. If I had a spade blocker, like you throw in the ace of spades or maybe even the queen of spades here, and I think this is suddenly a much nicer hand. But with no spades, it's a little tricky. So I'm like, yeah, let's check. Let's get a free turn. Okay, we got a free turn. I don't know. Does anybody start betting this now? I feel like it's pretty likely for people to have like smaller flushes and check the flop. But then like maybe if I just bet big, small flushes just fold or something. I don't know. Anyway, I checked again. And then the river was a queen of spades, which is good and bad. The good part is that a 4th spade makes it less likely for anyone to have a spade. The bad part is that a straight just got there, right? Ace 10, 10-9 got there. I'm blocking the queen, which doesn't seem particularly relevant. They check to me. I figure let's just take the showdown at this point. Again, trying to bluff. If I was going to try and get people to fold a straight on the river, I would have rather just bet the turn and try and get them to fold a flush and just like not even get there. So these two players make a straight. The top right actually had a very nice, very interesting bluffing hand. They had the wrap and they had the ace of spades. So it was sort of like a semi-bluff against hands like mine, but also just like they can rep the nuts. The other player on the river actually can more effectively rep the nuts. They've got the true nut blocker now, the 10 of spades, which blocks ace 10 and 10-9 of spades, which are the straight and royal flushes, irrespectively. Between the two of them, they have a royal flush, but they have to chop the pot because that's not how it works. They both have a straight, and like nobody has a flush, which is funny. So anyway, a couple more hands, a few more hands. All right, so this very pretty hand. And we fly. Yeah. This one. Okay, this is the one that I was thinking the other one was the one with the king pairing on the turn. It also features spades and it also features a board pair. So I flop. Let's see. What do? They check. Our SPR is over 10-1. I flop middle pair, a gut shot, but not the good gut shot, and a backdoor flush draw, right? So not a ton, but it feels like if I can check and realize pretty well here. I don't feel like I'm blocking what I super want to be blocking. And I don't know, maybe a bet's okay, but I decided to check back. I turn trips and a gut shot straight flush draw. So now I have clubs, I have trips, and so any club and any ace, 9, jack, 8 is going to give me a flush or better, and a 10 will give me a straight. So they bet pot here, and I don't see any reason to raise, but I also am not like terrified that they have queen 9 or queen queen. Those are possible, but there's so many draws that they can have also, and I'm only blocking like the backdoor ones. They can still have a lot of draws here, and I call. And then the river's an 8, and they just straight pot it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, that's cool, but I've got a full house, and queen queen and queen 9 are possible, but I mean, Jack 10 got there. I guess they could. This seems like a really weird thing to do with Jack 10. Spades whiffed. They could maybe have a hand like 3-3 or 9-8 or 9-3 or 8-8 that they think they're doing this for value with. Like, we don't have a big read on this player. So I call it off. And they had, I guess they had a straight draw. So they're unblocking the flush draws. Maybe that's why they decided to turn this into a bluff, and they had a gut shot. I don't know. I guess like in general, we want to be unblocking the flush draws when we're trying to get folds, I guess. Seems a little curious, but hey, they went for it, and sometimes it works. I mean, you've seen me fold plenty of hands, so yeah. Maybe they just wanted to be in the video. Okay, so they raise, and I was thinking like, yeah, this is just a clear call. it's hard to find exactly what I would use to look this up. I mean, it would be the visions, right? It's not in the PLO matrix. I wish they added a heads up tab to the PLO matrix. I'm going to make like a list of suggestions and be like, hey, why don't you do this? Heads up tab in PLO matrix. Yeah, do it. Like, why not? Why not? Add it to the tool. I doubt it's that hard, right? Or have a secondary product that does that. I think that would be great. Anyway, this is a super simple defend in a lot of other situations. So I feel like heads up, it's got to be either a call or a raise, or a 3-bet rather, right? A re-raise. So I flop bottom 2 pair. I've got a blocker to some things that could come in, and I have a backdoor second nut flush draw. This feels to me like enough to call. Maybe that makes it enough to raise. I don't know how much I'm going to be raising on this ace high board. Honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing heads up. I understand the idea of heads up play, generally speaking, but I haven't put any work into really pot limit Omaha heads up. So that's something I'd like to do at some point, but haven't yet. I decide to call as I have 2 pair. I've got a backdoor. I've got a backdoor straight draw as well. And I've got potentially good blockers. And on this turn card, I say, you know what? I turn to straight draw, and I've got a blocker of the nut and second nut straight. So I decide to just, like, let's go with it. And I thought, maybe I should have potted it. Maybe I should have gone pot, just, like, almost no matter what the run out. But so I do this, and they call, and then the river's a deuce. And I kind of like following through with my plan. I don't like having the 8 of hearts, but I like having an 8. I would rather I have like a different 8 so that they can have more heart draws that they can call with and then fold. But I feel like, can they fold sets here? Can they fold like 4-3 even maybe? I feel like they definitely should be able to fold hands like aces up. But then I kind of had this reality check where it's like, oh, but I've got 6-7, and like, am I just getting them to fold like ace X? And I'm like, well, I've got some showdown value. So I sort of started, I like zigged and then zagged myself. And I don't love that. So they actually did have a flush draw. They did have a straight draw. And they did have top pair, but they had aces and 6s. And I do think this is a hand that they can fold on the river. Like, 6-4 is like, basically when I lead this turn, they bet the flop, top and bottom pair. They have a flush draw. When they call this turn, they've got a straight draw, they've got 2 pair, which is a boat draw, and they've got a flush draw. And when all of those brick, I feel like they're blocking some things they don't want to block. They're not blocking what they really want to block, which is 8-9, right? Yeah, the 4 blocker might get them to call because they're like, well, 8-4 is less likely, 4-3 is less likely. But I think I might have been able to get away with one here. And the main thing about this hand is that I feel like my thought process was not consistent. There wasn't like a coherent through line, right? I think if I'm going to bet that turn, I think I should barrel river on this river particularly. And I think if I'm not going to do that, then maybe just check turn, maybe call, or maybe check raise turn and jam river. I don't know. I think there's, I don't like how I play this hand, mostly because I feel like any given street might make sense, but altogether they don't. So that's that. This hand, okay, I think we bang it with a 3-bet here, right? Yeah. Let's look at, so these stack sizes are weird. We'll first look up 100 big blinds, because this is almost like we're playing 100 blinds, because I think they called like their first hand. They just, I don't know. I don't know about this player. I think they ended up playing like okay-ish, and I marked them as green. I'm going to unmark them as green because I feel like they shouldn't have been. And it's just like, it's kind of throwing me off, and it probably threw me off at the table. So I think that was maybe an over-eager tagging of potentially suboptimal play. And they could be playing suboptimally, but not necessarily in a way that's like super costly or super exploitable. So let's look at small blind versus button, 100 big blind stacks, and look at ace-7 double suited. This has to be a 3-bet, right? It's not. It's not. We actually fold this in this spot. We 3-bet ace-7 6-5 and ace-7 5-4, but not ace-7 6-4. It really doesn't like these 6s when it's like with an ace and a 4, and so I guess that's the reason. But it's probably pretty close, is my guess. And the fact that they min raised makes me feel fine about it because I feel like their range is going to be a little looser. But it's good to know that this isn't just like a de facto standard slam dunk, and that this ace-7-6-4 is clearly worse than ace-7-6-5 or ace-7-5-4. And that's just kind of intuitive. I mean, that makes sense. So we get everybody to call. Oh, this hand. Spoilers, but I don't love this hand. I flopped the nuts, and this was actually I think the second hand of the session, and I was like, oh, and I'm like trying to figure out how to do the title, and there's a bunch of stuff going on. But point being, I think I probably want to check this board a lot as the pre-flop raiser, the pre-flop 3-better out of position. I think I want to check this a lot. The other option is like betting small maybe, or betting pot. And I really wanted to get a lot of money in on the flop, and for that reason I decided to check. Maybe it sounds counterintuitive, but the thought is like, yeah, let's let one of these players bet. It's really easy board to connect with, right? They can have some straight draws, they can have a bunch of stuff, and then when they bet, oh, so they didn't bet. And then I, rip it. I'm actually going to look at some flop equities. I want to look at, like, let's say they have... We're going to take it heads up against, like, one hand. Let's say they just have, like, Jack 10 and then, like, random cards. They're better than 50-50. They're ahead of us. So, by Jack 10, I mean clubs, right? Now, if we give them... I mean, diamonds aren't really going to make much difference, but they are someone's best friend, I guess. Oh, what did I do? I gave them 5 cards. That's not how we do it. Okay, we'll calculate this. Now they've got like 63% if they've got the overwrap. But let's see, like, what if somebody has like something like this, where they've got the straight. So if they have the straight and top 2 pair, I'm actually crushing them with 60%. I mean, crushing. PLO crushing, right? So against ranges, I really like getting this in. Now on the turn, I decided to bet half pot because, like, I don't know. I felt kind of lost here on the turn. I could just keep checking and see if somebody wants to start betting. I did think, like, my hand's probably good, and I don't know this bet. I don't know. I don't know you. I don't love it. Maybe it's fine. I don't know. And then they just fold. So, like, whatever. Anyway, we'll go on to the next one. That hand was just kind of weird. Oh, and then this hand is also kind of weird. Both players call, and this might be when I didn't mark this player as anything. I might have marked the button as something. I decide to raise. They both decide to do different things from one another. Kind of tried to save that one at the last minute. But the button is the one who calls, and the flop comes not really my zip code. And as we see here, the stack to pot ratio is greater than 10-1. And as such, aces aren't going to play great. I'm not blocking anything I really want to be blocking. I'm blocking some of the, like, small wraps or whatever. I can't really improve, except, like, an ace of hearts gives me the nuts. Ace of clubs gives me the nut, no club, and a boat draw. Besides that, it's really hard to go anywhere. I guess I can make a couple runner straights, but they're not very likely ones. And I just check and fold. And that's that for this session. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think of that. Like, is this just too tight? Or is it just like, yeah, that's not a good board for me. And there's just not going to be a bunch of runouts. If they bet some small bet size, then I have a tougher decision. I think here it's like, I don't know. I guess I am unblocking all the draws. But the draws have such good equity. And, like, what runouts do I want to proceed on? Like, really? Like a deuce and a 3 that aren't clubs? I mean, that makes me the straight, but also that's just like maybe running deuces, and then my aces are pretty good. I don't know. I just folded, and that's that. So anyway, thanks so much for sticking through the video with me and for joining and chatting. If you have any questions on any hands on YouTube, go ahead and put in a comment, and I'll get back to you. Hopefully it won't flag it as spam. It did that to someone's comment, which was really a bummer because it was a great comment. So I actually, like, retyped their comment and put it in. This was Smith John. Anyway, I appreciated that comment, and definitely don't stop making comments. I don't know, YouTube can be weird. Maybe once I get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, I can tell it to stop doing that. I'm not sure. It might just keep doing it, which is obnoxious. But regardless, if you like the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Peace. We're going to talk about it being the antepenultimate day of the 90 days of streaming, which is cool. Like, that's, you know, I mean, first of all, we get to say Antepenultimate, which is always fun. Antepenultimate. Yes, BuffyBot has said in the chat Antepenultimate. I feel like that's it's just a great word, you know. People, I feel like when we learn the word penultimate, it's like I want to say penultimate all the time. BuffyBot says, "Is there a hyphen?" I do not believe so. I looked it up and it said no hyphen, and it is Ante, Ante. Joke didn't work. Oh, anti-penultimate. Oh, was it a? Okay. I think the joke went too far over my head to get caught in my hair, but yeah, you'll explain it to me later, because jokes are always funny when we explain them. But yeah, I mean, some people might be anti-penultimate if you just don't like things that are second to last. That's a thing, I guess. All right, okay, I see. Now it says Kevin's live. Let's go. Let's get our Viking hats on. Now the raid still doesn't sit. Come on, Twitch. Work. Function. Like a thing that functions. This is ridiculous. Okay, there we go. We're heading over. It's been fun. Let's enjoy the anti-penultimate day of this 90 days in a row. 90 days, that's a lot. That's a lot of days. I did 45 days in a row. 90 is a lot. All right, let's go.